everyone, it's the Musician in Makeup, and I am so excited to be doing this video because I'm going to be talking about like one of my all-time favorite beauty products that I've ever found, and it is the Urban Decay Naked Palette, which I'm sure you guys have heard about. But I went through my makeup collection today thinking I want to find some dupes for this because I know I haven't really seen any dupe videos, and if I did, I would have been frantically digging through my collection to see if I had any of the dupe products mentioned because, you know, I missed out on this for so long, and if I had had or known of any dupes for this palette, I totally would have been using them all the time just to recreate all the looks that I was seeing on YouTube. So I actually found, I think it's 6 total. Actually, no, it's 7. I found over half of the shades in my meager little makeup collection, and I'd say almost all of them are pretty exact dupes. There are some subtle variations, but they're all, you know, close enough that I wanted to include them in this video. I wouldn't have included them if they weren't, you know, very nearly exact, if not exact. So let's get started right away. I'm actually gonna go from left to right in the palette. So we're gonna start with Virgin. It's a really light pink, almost skin tone kind of color with just a really subtle shimmer. And the dupe that I found for that is in a Wet n Wild trio called Walking on Eggshells. And there's actually 2 dupes in here for 2 shades in the Naked palette, but the first one is Virgin. At the end of the video, I'll show all the swatches. I did take pictures of each of the swatches that I made. I actually have an armful of swatches right now, but I took pictures of them in natural sunlight. It's a little dark in here, so you guys might not be able to see, but you know, it'll at least give you an idea before the swatches at the end. So the first one is this Wet n Wild trio. It's the lightest color all the way up at the top here, and that is a dupe for Virgin. You can see they look really very close, you know, just in the pan. It's kind of hard to see them in my swatches just because they're such subtle highlight shades. They really just give a really nice sheen to the brow bone or the inner corner of your eye. They're such pretty shades just because of, you know, their subtlety. They're not like, you know, a pop of really bright white or like a cream color. They're just sort of a nice, they give a really nice sheen to them. So I was excited that I found a dupe for that. And while I was looking in this palette, I'm like, that bottom shade, that sort of pinky color, looks incredibly close to Sin, which is the next color over from Virgin. And as you can see, I'll hold them up against one another. They as well look just about as close in the pan as Virgin did. And let me tell you, I swatched these 2 next to each other. The one from the Wet n Wild actually looked a little pinker than Sin does, but when they're swatched side by side, like it's, I'm not going to show you because I'm like having to bend my arm really awkwardly. They're so insanely close to each other. So this palette, if you want a pretty good dupe for 2 of the shades in the Naked palette, this palette was $2.99 just at a drugstore. The Naked palette itself is $48, I believe, and with tax it's right around $50. It's, I think, a little bit over $50. Now the next shade is the 4th shade in the palette, called Sidecar, which is right here. I'm sorry, my recording light is like flashing orange, so if you see something flashing orange on the palette, that's that. But this is Sidecar, and it's a shade that really does not get a lot of love at all. It's sort of like a mushroomy color that has a really nice sheen to it, but it also has some pretty chunky gold glitter, which people say gives them really bad fallout. I haven't really experienced a lot of fallout with it. If you apply it light-handedly, I haven't had a problem with it. But the dupe that I found for that doesn't really have the chunky shimmer, but it's very similar, just sort of in the color of it, is this e.l.f. cream shadow, and it's in Dawn. And like I said, it doesn't have, you know, as chunky of a glitter, but it actually does still have gold flecks in it. So it's a really close match for Sidecar. not exact, but definitely close enough that I wanted to include it. Okay, so the next dupe that I found was for Dark Horse, which is this shade right here in the Naked palette. It's just a really pretty deep, rich, earthy brown with some gold, very subtle gold shimmer to it. And the dupe that I found for that is in this L'Oreal Hip Shadow Duo. And it is in Dynamic. So that shadow right there, it's almost a dead-on match. Like, all these shadows were such dead-on matches. I was surprised I found so many dupes for this palette in my collection, because mine isn't that big, really. So I really struck gold with some of these dupes, and this is definitely one of those ones that is almost exact, if not the same shade as the one in the Naked palette. Okay, and the next shade that I found a dupe for is called Hustle. And it's that one right there. And Hustle is just a really, really pretty deep plummy brown. And the dupe that I found for that is in another Wet n Wild trio. This one is called Knock on Wood, and it's that shade right in the center there. And they're such dead-on dupes. And I love the fact that I found so many of these dupes in these Wet n Wild trios, because like I said before, these are only $3.99 a pop at, you know, any of your local drugstores. I think I got mine at like the supermarket. Even like my local food market has like a little tiny cosmetics section, and they're $3.99 a pop, so you can't go wrong, and they're really, really pigmented too. So the next shade that I found was for Creep, which is a really pretty shimmery black. It has sort of a multicolored shimmer to it. It's really, really pretty. And the dupe that I found for that is in this L'Oreal eyeshadow quad. And this one is called Blackened Smokes. And it's that black color right up in that corner, right there. The only black shade in the palette. I'm sure I didn't really have to point it out to you, but I did anyway. So it's that black shade up there, and the only difference between these two, they have, you know, a really similar base color. It's just the shimmer. They both have multicolor shimmer, but the shimmer in the L'Oreal palette is a little bit more chunky and not quite as fine as the one in the Naked palette, but they're still really close. And the last shade in the palette, which is the last shade I found a dupe for, this is Gunmetal, down at the end here. It is a really deep, very nice gray with, again, very finely milled shimmer. And the dupe that I found for that is in another Wet n Wild palette. This one's one of the 6-pan palettes. I'm not sure if these are discontinued or not, but they still have them in some of my local drugstores, so I'm not sure if they're discontinued or not, but it's the 6-pan palette in Lust, and it's that gray color right there. And again, this was another one, like all of the ones that I got from my Wet n Wild palettes were dead on. Like, these are such dead on colors, and they're so cheap. This one I think is $4.99. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, stay tuned. The swatches are going to be coming up right at the end after I'm done blabbering on, which I think I'm going to say goodbye now so you guys can go check out those swatches. So I will see you all in my next video. Bye.